What is up, everybody, and happy, Wednesday? We are one day away from the real start of March Madness, but don't worry, we've got some NIT and some NC2A picks for you today. Of course, we've got NBA. We're going to bring it with some golf picks that start early tomorrow. We've got a full show today, a full slate of picks. I see Eric David. I see Mark Buckholz, Nick, Bradley, Japan in the chat. Go ahead and hit the like button if you could. Let's get this Wednesday started the right way. Let's first of all check out the recap screen, and then we're going to bring in the stars of the show. 4 and 5 here. Honestly, I was the difference. If I had hit LSU minus 2.5, we would have gone 5 and 4. Not a great pick. Maybe I shouldn't have picked on North Texas, who won the NIT last year. But Griffin, Carroll, look, 2+ money plays. They both come in. Buckets hits his plus money play. So when you look at 4 and 5, I want you to also look at the juice, because we did really well in the plus money department, but we got to do better than 4 and 5. And we're going to do it with our typical Wednesday crew. This is an all-star crew. As you know, each and every Wednesday, we bring it with Mikey B, Mike McClure, Tim Doyle, and Martin Green. Tim, I got to start with you. You're wearing the shades. You've got the hammer. You are looking like the model of confidence, pun intended. How you doing, sir?
Did everybody not have that Virginia under last night? I mean, that was a layup. McClure, when I bet unders, you know what I am for 2 hours of a college basketball game? I'm miserable. Oh, I am angry. I push my kids in the bathroom. I go, stay in there. We need misses. Like, it just puts me in a bad mood, but we cashed the ticket. And now, Sia, let's make some more money today.
I love that. And Mike McClure, let me ask you this, because when I bet unders, I'm curious what your process is. When I bet unders, sometimes I won't watch the first half, because to Tim's point, I hate watching a full game of unders, and usually it's tracking well by halftime, and then I can start watching and rooting for misses. Do you have any sort of idiosyncrasies when it comes to stuff like that?
Nah, I do not see. I'm the wrong person to ask there. Half the time, I honestly don't even watch the games that I bet on. It's a lot of the computer stuff that's coming in there. So I'll watch second half, a little bit like you not watching the first half, but most of that is just unintentional. I'll look at live data as it comes in. If things are not happening the way they're supposed to in any way, I'll look for edges to bet in game. But other than that, I don't watch a lot of the early action.
Meanwhile, I'm like pacing up and down. I smoked 2 cigarettes here last night. Like, I was that anxious. I know Martin's overseas. Everyone's puffing away on their cigarettes outside. Like, I'm not a smoker. My whole house smells like tobacco. Martin, do you smoke cigarettes when you're watching an unders?
No, I'm just a bag of nervous energy, just jumping up and down, pacing about. But I quit smoking many years ago, and more into green smoothies nowadays.
Very interesting. By the way, I think we understand now why Mike McClure is so calm all the time, because he's not stressing himself out like we are every single day, watching every second of these games. I absolutely love it. Well, Mike, we'll have some of your picks, some of your model picks coming up later in the show. And I know you snuck in a golf pick today too, which I have as well. So can't wait for that. Mikey B, we got to get it started with you. We got to go to the NBA. We've got a really nice slate of NBA games today, and you have a couple of props. So I got to ask you, what are the props? What are the plays today in the NBA?
Today is inadvertently Tyrese Day. So first, we're going to go Tyrese Maxey over 27.5 points at minus 118. He's the driving force behind the 76ers offense right now with Joel Embiid out. He's averaging a career high 26.1 points per game. He scored at least 30 points in 5 of his last 7 games. Great spot for him to stay hot. Facing the Suns, they've got up the 4th most points per game in the league to opposing point guards. So we're going to start things out with Tyrese Maxey over 27.5 points. And then we're going to finish it up with Tyrese Halliburton over 10.5 assists. A little bit more juice on this one at minus 139. He's averaging 11.3 assists per game for the season. He has at least 11 dimes in 5 of his last 7 games. Playing the Pistons, they have the 4th worst defensive rating in the league. He has played them 3 times already this season. In those games, 10, 16, and 13 assists. The Pistons have been competitive lately, so I think this game stays close enough, long enough for Halliburton to go over 10.5 assists.
All right, a couple Tyrese plays from Mikey B. And I got to say, the Tyrese Maxey one, I think Tim Doyle might be particularly interested in. You'll have to wait and find out what I'm talking about there. By the way, Bitsy, with kind of a random prop, which I kind of love in terms of it just being random. I haven't evaluated it, but George Niang over 10.5 points. That's That's an interesting one, a little obscure. George Niang, of course, from Iowa State. I don't know if Iowa State is making it far in people's brackets. By the way, before I get to the rest of the picks, Martin Green, you're on the other side of the pond. I don't know how interested you are in March Madness. Are you filling out the early edge bracket?
I have filled out an early edge bracket, but mainly based on the names of the teams that I like. There's not a great deal of science towards it, but also just following the expert picks from the wonderful handicappers at SportsLine. But nobody on this side of the pond has a clue what March Madness is, I'm afraid to say. You could ask a million people, and I don't think any of them would know.
Well, an unscientific approach is usually the best approach when it comes to filling out brackets. But if you want to make some bets, by the way, we've got a new promo from BetMGM. You're going to want to check this out. 3 ways to boost your odds. At BetMGM, for the first round of matchups, eligible players will receive 3 64% boosts. Eligible players will receive a 64% odds boost token for minimum odds of -300, a 64% live odds boost token, again, for minimum odds of -300, and a 64% parlay boost token for minimum of 4+ legs at +400 odds. So check out those. I mean, it's pretty well laid out there in terms of the live boosts, the odds boost, and the parlay boost, all 64%. Log in to the BetMGM app for offer details. That is a very 64%. They're not messing around there over on BetMGM. All right, we can't mess around any longer with our picks because we heard Mikey B, but we still got to get to my pick, which is tomorrow morning. It's one of the first guys out in golf. We got to get to Tim Doyle's picks, Martin Green, of course, and Mike McClure. We're going to do that right after this break.
The blackout mystery remains.
Welcome to March Madness. You just never know in the tournament who is going to shine.
Stream March Madness live on any device, anywhere, and be ready for anything.
All right, we're back on the early edge presented by BetMGM. I'm gonna kick off a golf pick. So I lost basketball yesterday. I'm taking a sabbatical at least until tomorrow. There are some round 1 games I do like, some of which have been talked about this week already on the early edge. But there's a couple of guys, or I should say a group of guys, that are going out really early in the morning tomorrow for the Valspar Championship. By the way, if you didn't watch the early wedge, check that out. It's in your feed. I'm going with Christian Bezuidenhout at +100 over Luke Donald and Sam Stevens. This is a 3-ball that you should find everywhere. I noticed a lot of matchups have come out late at some of the major sports books, but if you have 3 balls, you're probably going to have this one. These guys are out early in the morning. Christian Bezuidenhout, if you haven't been paying attention, has been playing really, really well. His weighted tee to green numbers, his approach numbers, his putting numbers all look good, especially when you compare it to Luke Donald and Sam Stevens. Luke Donald is a guy, he's kind of an older guy, he's been playing a little bit more on the European tour. The thing about him is his history here is actually really good, but I don't really fear him when I've got him up against Christian Bezuidenhout. So even though his history is good, the metrics don't look as good. And I just think CBEZ, as I like to call him, is probably just a more improved Luke Donald. And then Sam Stevens, he's a very talented golfer, but he has not put it together. The ball striking, the putting, the short game, he just hasn't put it together this entire year. So while he does have potential, I don't see him figuring it out on this very tough course that we're going to see at Copperhead at the Valspar Championship. So I've got CBEZ +100 over Luke Donald and Sam Stevens. I will point out one other thing. Another one I was considering was Christian Bezuidenhout at -105 over Eric Cole in just a singular head-to-head matchup. If you have that at your book and for some reason you don't have this 3-ball, I like that one as well. I'd rather target Luke Donald and Sam Stevens versus Eric Cole, but Eric Cole hasn't been playing very well either, particularly on approach. So I do like CBEZ over him at -105. If you have questions about golf matchups, good news. We still have a day until we get started. So I might give out another one tomorrow that happens after 10. But if you have questions, hit me up in the chat or message me on Twitter, and I'll let you know if I like the play that you have picked out. Martin, we've got 2 soccer plays coming from you. And I got confused at first because when I saw your first one, I saw Mexico money line. I'm not giving the entire pick away, but I thought it was New Mexico. And I thought it was like, oh my gosh, Martin Green is getting into the March Madness game. But no, lo and behold, it's Mexico money line along with something else. But you got 2 soccer picks here. You've got the floor, Martin.
Yeah, I'm going for old Mexico, original Mexico. And yeah, they are playing against Panama in the CONCACAF Nations League semi-finals. It's taking place in Texas tomorrow at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I think that Mexico should get the better of Panama. These teams have faced one another 3 times in the past couple of years, and Mexico won all 3 games by a 1-0 scoreline. Could be in for another tight, low-scoring clash tomorrow. I think Mexico should ultimately have enough quality to get the job done. Panama have been on an upward curve in recent years, but the likes of Irving Lozano, Santiago Jimenez, Henry Martin, they've got a lot of firepower, and I think they should fire their team to victory. So I'm going Mexico money line and under 4.5 goals. And also, just quickly looking ahead to the weekend, the major European soccer leagues are on an international break this weekend. So I've had to delve a bit deeper to find value. I'm looking at an intriguing League One game between Notts County and Salford City. Notts County's home games have averaged 4.06 goals this season. They've scored in 16 out of 18 home matches, but they've conceded in 15 of them. So this should be an open, entertaining game. Salford are involved in a lot of high-scoring games too. So I'm going for both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at -120.
All right. I love the plays. We've got Mexico, not New Mexico, Mexico money line and the under 4.5. And then, of course, Notts County and Salford, both teams to score and over 2.5. And Martin Green is filling out an early edge bracket. And if you want to fill out an early edge bracket, it's super easy. The link to our big time early edge bracket is in the description. Winner gets a full year of SportsLine. So that's pretty cool. And again, the link for the bracket pool is in the description. First place takes home that year's subscription to SportsLine. So make sure you check that out. All right, Tim. So you've got a pick tonight that I do love. This is a pick that I considered giving out as well. And then you've got an NBA pick, which is very, very interesting and ties in Tyrese Maxey a little bit. So Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go college first. Thanks, Sia, and appreciate Martin. The old Mexico line, hilarious. I'm more of a Mexican beer drinker, or cerveza, as my Spanish-speaking friends like to say. I'm more Corona, lime. I'll go to Modelo. I've morphed more towards tequila. And when Martin was talking about green, when he started saying he got away from the cigarettes, he went to green. I was like, I thought he was going to say he started smoking weed. I'm like, all right, Martin, now we're partying, buddy. I wasn't sure if that's how he segued. Because now
I used to do a lot of that, but I got in trouble with the constabulary over here.
I don't know what the rules over in the pond are, because I only speak one language and I live in the United States. But the rules here, it's free. Just free. Do whatever you want. Woohoo! Yeah, party time out here with the weed. So it's legal in the state I'm in, so I can talk about it. But don't talk about it in the illegal states. All right, my college basketball pick, Colorado. They ran into a buzzsaw in Oregon in the Pac-12 tournament. If you haven't seen Dante play on Oregon, this guy's awesome. He's 6'11". He's blocking shots. Oregon's going to be a really tough out. They have KJ Simpson. I'm not as high on the Mountain West as everybody else is. I think Boise State's a nice team. Tyson Degenhardt plays kind of that YMCA game. Max Rice can bang down a lot of threes. I just think Colorado is like much more talent. Simpson gets you almost 20 points a game. This isn't win by 2.5 in advance, the NCAA tournament. It's just win in advance. So I am not going to be laying points anywhere with any teams, or I'm going to be taking dogs. So give me Colorado on the money line. And then, I got in trouble once at Northwestern. It was 3 years graduated. And I did a bit on radio about how I used to wear an eye patch during all my exams that had the answers in it. And anybody who's ever worn an eye patch before would know that you really can't see the answers, but it was just a bit. Well, Northwestern called me up and they said, did you cheat on any of your exams at Northwestern? And I said, every single one of them. How could you possibly prove that? Okay. But to my point, I was looking at Barner's paper here. And when he said Tyrese Maxey, this one left nipple, hard as a rock, okay? I covered the Phoenix Suns last week. I did their game on True TV, and they don't guard anybody. They will be lucky to win a series. Durant's an amazing offensive player. He doesn't play defense anymore. And then they just go one-on-one, and I watched them closely against the Celtics, and I was like, this team is very average, very average. They have no shot at winning a title. Trust me. So then I was like, I am going to load up on the Bucks. Whoever the Suns are playing, I'm loading up on them. Well, I wake up and I see Giannis's game time decision, and I'm like, I should just wait. So he doesn't play, scratches. Well, the Bucks score 200 points and they blow out the Suns. And I'm like, oh, yeah, exactly what I thought. So the Suns, they're really weak. As for Philly, they've won 2 straight. Not saying they're like anything special, but man, the Suns are so overvalued, so overrated. So Barner, yes, I was looking at your paper. Let's go Maxey over and let's get a 76ers cover.
I love that. Hey, Mikey B, what do you think of the plus 9.5? I know that's not one of your picks. I'm just curious what you think about that.
Sounds like a parlay waiting to happen, doesn't it, Tim?
Let's go.
Boom.
Let's go.
I mean, I've been saying it all year. I'm not right about everything by any means, but I've been saying that the Suns just built so poorly once they got rid of a lot of their personality, a lot of their role players to get Durant and then end up getting Beal as well. It's just not a championship team. It's complete smoke and mirrors with 3 guys that right now are probably all overrated in their own right, let alone the team itself. So I like the pick. You know, this is one of those where it could be a get right spot for Phoenix to some degree, with Philly like having a lot of guys out, but 9.5 is a lot of points. So I don't mind this pick at all. And also the pick I really liked him was Colorado. I'd probably be willing to lay the 2.5 if that's what it is right now, but I do think Colorado is going to get past Boise State. So that's going to be an exciting game tonight. Colorado could do some damage in the tournament. Tim, do you think if Colorado wins, which you're expecting, do you think, and I guess you're probably pulling out the bracket right now, they have the ability matchup wise to maybe do some damage in this tournament, right?
I have them winning their next game. They would play Florida in the 7-10. And then, who knows what you're going to get from Marquette. Marquette's the 2, and I'm going to be targeting against them. Got some inside info, too.
Oh, on Tyler Kolek?
On that Marquette Western Kentucky game. McClure, listen to this. I talked to someone who called the Conference USA game. I'm not going to name his name, Avery Johnson. And he said Western Kentucky is going to beat Marquette. So Avery Johnson won NBA championships. The guy coached in the NBA, coached in college. The line is 14.5. So I'm passing on that info to the world. Avery said Western Kentucky is going to beat Marquette. So even if that's not true, that's a lot of points. And their best player, Western Kentucky, is Don McHenry. He's a legit guard. I've called their games this year also. And who knows what you're going to get from Tyler Kolek. You don't just insert yourself and you're right back to your form. And Marquette was awful last year in the tournament. So to your point about Colorado, I have them winning 2 games. So I have them in the Sweet 16.
Hey, Mike, can I ask you something? And that's interesting. Like Colorado to the Sweet 16, I think is realistic, especially if they win tonight. Your take on Marquette, because I expect Tyler Kolek to be back, but I am kind of speculating. And even if he is back, do you think that's a team that can get by Kentucky? I'm not looking at the bracket right now, but I believe it's Kentucky, it's Houston in that bracket. I think Kansas, which is down, of course, Kevin McCullough Jr. For the rest of the season. Do you have Marquette kind of getting bounced early?
There's 2 different brackets. So in the simulation bracket, yes, I don't have them going super deep, but they offer a ton of leverage. Everyone is down on them to the point where the public percent on them is far below where the actual odds are. So there is a lot of value taking Marquette, but if you're going to take them all the way to the Final Four or further. If not, I think it makes a lot of sense to have them bounced in the second round.
Yeah, and Maestro was in the chat, by the way. He says 3 other Marquette guys nursing injuries as well. I'm not sure who. I know Cam Jones, he appears to be healthy, but maybe some other role players nursing injury as well. Very interesting. And by the way, there's some smack talk in the chat, Tim, before we get to Mike McClure's picks. Dan Lamb says Boise State wins easy tonight. Your response, Tim?
Yeah, I think they can win. I think they're going to have to make probably 12 threes. And that arena, guys, I did a game there. Those rims are brutal. Brutal. Think about, I know Wagner and the other game, Howard, they actually scored some points, but Howard couldn't make a shot. Wagner actually shot the ball pretty well. But the next game wasn't even close. So I told everybody about 4 unders. The worst you're going to do is split. So obviously you split last night. But I think that it's a really difficult arena to shoot in. And for Boise to win, they're going to have to make 10+ threes.
All right. And Maestro clarifying that he mentioned the names of the people that are nursing injuries, but all will play. So that's good to know. Brent Ritchie says, I'm on Arizona, and I hate that I'm on Arizona. I also hate that you're on Arizona, Brent Ritchie. Mike McClure, you're on a round 1 NC2A March Madness matchup and a round 1 Valspar Championship matchup tomorrow. So talk to us about your 2 picks.
All right, Sia, I am backing Michigan State in the opening round against Mississippi State. It's simply a math play at this point. It's -1 on the number in the market. I think the number should be 3 or 3.5, a little closer to 3.5. Should be a full possession win here for them. When I look at these two teams playing each other, they both do something similar. It's the fact that they can actually defend and play legit defense, but they play at a very slow pace. So it's going to be a very comfortable matchup for Michigan State. So when you get these comfortable matchups at slower pace, that's where I really want to look for some of the expertise. We know Tom Izzo and his teams have that, but then we look at the free throw line. Michigan State's not a great free throw shooting team, but they are the better one in this matchup. This Mississippi State team, one of the worst free throw shooting teams in college basketball, just 65% from the free throw line in a game that we know is very likely to be very, very competitive. So I'm going to lean into Tom Izzo's experience, that defensive efficiency. The Mississippi State offense is the worst unit on the floor in this game, so I will take Michigan State here. I think that I was expecting the public to have bet this up to 2.5, 3, and it simply has not happened. So I will enter at -1 here on Michigan State.
All right.
And then headed to the golf first round matchup here. There is a gap in overall talent between these two players, but there's a much bigger gap, in my opinion, in terms of course fit. I'm going Lucas Glover in round 1 over Maverick McNeely. McNeely, again, certainly the more talented golfer overall if we look over the course of a season. But in this particular setup, Lucas Glover, one of the best course fits out there this week at the Valspar. So some of the metrics that you should care about here at this course, I want to be accurate and I want to have great approach play. That's exactly what Lucas Glover is. Accurate off the tee, one of the better ones. He doesn't really have the driving distance or the putting. Fortunately here, driving distance does not matter at all. At least in terms of PGA Tour. It would matter if I was playing and anyone on the screen was playing, it would still maybe matter. But for PGA Tour golfers, driving distance is completely irrelevant at this event, which is where McNeely kind of stands out, and with the putter. So I like the setup for Lucas Glover. He's finally at a course where he's not penalized for not being long off the tee, not really penalized as much from being not quite the elite putter. So give me Lucas Glover in round 1 over Maverick McNeely.
Totally agree with this matchup. I mean, he's a ball striker. Maverick McNeely, not really so much a ball striker. I mean, he gained so much. Nice finishing position last week, but he gained so much with the short game. I just don't think, listen, that's going to help him here, obviously, but you got to be dialed in on approach. You got to keep it in the fairway, and Glover's going to do a better job than Mav McNeely there. We talked about Lucas Glover yesterday because Japan, who's in the chat right now, he had him at 60-1. I think that's an interesting look. I don't think Glover can take down the tournament, but at 60-1, I think it's worth maybe speculating. Maybe you want to play him in the top 20 market, but certainly in the matchup department, I think that's obviously the most profitable thing to do. Golf matchups are where the profit is week to week, month to month. All right, that's all the picks. We have so many picks just today and tomorrow. We got a lot going on here. So let's take a look at the recap screen. Martin Green, Mexico, not New Mexico, Mexico money line and under 4.5 -110. And Knox County, Salford, both teams to score and over 2.5 at -120. I've got a play for tomorrow early morning before the Thursday early edge starts. We've got Bezuidenhout going out against Luke Donald and Sam Stevens. This is +100 even money on that 3-ball. By the way, if you want to bet a 2-ball, maybe you take CBez over Eric Cole. Tim Doyle tonight, 76ers +9.5 at Phoenix, and Colorado money line -150. There was some talk about the other play-in game. There was a couple leans in the chat on Montana State -4, -3.5 against Grambling. I'm on that Montana State side as well, not an official pick, but you asked, that's my lean. Tyrese Maxey over 27.5 points, -118. A lot of synchronicity with Mikey B in that play, and Tim Doyle on the 76ers +9.5, and Tyrese Halliburton over 10.5 assists, -139. The Maxi play -118, and Mike McClure, Michigan State round 1 -1, and Valspar Championship another matchup. We've got Lucas Glover over Maverick McNeely. Ladies and gentlemen, what a show. Thank you for being a part of the show. We see Tim with the hammer, and that is a prelude to how well we are going to do today with all of our picks. And if I'm wrong, I'll pretend I never said that tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. On behalf of Mikey B, on behalf of Mike McClure, Martin Green, a lot of M's, and on behalf, of course, Tim Doyle and his hammer and his shades, I am the counselor. This is the Early Edge, and we rest our case.